Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We're coming to you live from Abeokuta, venue of Ogun Investment Forum. We're joined this morning by Dayo Adeneye, the Commissioner for Information. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Well, it's another investment forum, Ogun State organizing this one. But I look at the theme, Ogun, open for business. What is this one about? Because, I mean, the second one was supposed to bring investors. What's going on with this one this time?
Well, thank you. Yes, the first and second one, the first and the second both brought in investors. As of 2011, when we came in, Ogun, according to the World Bank report, was rated number 35 in the rankings of ease of doing business. But I'm happy to report to you that last year, when the report was done again, we rated among the top 5. So we've been able to do something right from the first Ogun Investors Forum. We've also been able to attract over 100 industries. You name it, all the multinationals, most of them are here. You name it, Lafarge, Nestle, they're all here in Ogun State. We have over 100 industries and counting. So we must be getting something right, hence the need for another Investors Forum.
Well, are you looking to double the figure of the investors who are coming this time?
As of last year, we had done over 690 billion in investments, investors, money coming into Ogun State. So hopefully, we are hoping that with the current climate and the biggest budget about to be spent by this country ever, we're hoping that Ogun State will be able to tap into that and get a sizable chunk of that figure and of course continue to attract investors.
Sorry, Newt, as you attract most of these investors, the big questions people will be asking, now you say you have about 100 who have come in after the last one. Do you have the space for them?
Well, if there's one thing Ogun State has in abundance, it's availability of land. We are bordered by about 4 or 5 states. We have a sizable chunk of land, a very arable, about 70% of it still untapped. So Ogun has an abundance of space. We've been allocating land, and that's why these industries are attracted to Ogun State. We border about 5 states, like I said. We are the gateway to the western part of Africa. We are the gateway to Lagos as well. So most of the commercial industries that are here, we know Lagos is the commercial capital of the country, but you need to access Lagos, you need to exit Lagos, you go through us. So we occupy a very enviable position, and we have abundance of land.
How much of employment would you say has been created for the indigents of Ogun State?
Yeah, so you see, that's the great thing about this. When we shout investors, 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 there's a trickle-down effect. Apart from the money coming in, these industries, they employ the locals. Maybe they bring in top management from their firms, but they employ the locals as whatever the workers in the industries, who of course we expect will be promoted to managers and rise above in the ranks as well. So it's a win-win situation for us.
You're not concerned about the contract staffing situation that usually happens in some of these multinational firms?
We've not had that problem at all. We have what we call a one-stop shop, where once you indicate your interest to invest as an investor, you are assigned a worker. Like in a bank, you have an account officer, you have assigned an officer that takes you through the process, and we give you our rules, our regulations, what we will tolerate, what we will not tolerate. So we've not had that issue of contract staff in Ogun State. Our workers are very happy, and things have been quite stable.
There seems to be a strategy, because I see you identify some key sectors that you want to focus on to anchor this investment. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, I'm going to let my colleagues speak to that because my fellow commissioners will be coming here. I don't want to preempt them. You will have about 6 commissioners, who will speak on transportation, environment, housing, and of course, those are the theme. That's the theme for this year. We pride ourselves on being the emerging economic powerhouse, but these things must be put in place. We pride ourselves on our infrastructure so far. Our network of roads is superb. We're not in paradise yet.
You're the big boss man at the helms of dishing out information, all of this success story, all of this big business idea within the country and outside the country. How has that been? How easy has it been for you selling, because we understand a former president of one of the countries, Colombia, is here. How did he get out some of this information by selling Ogun State to the world?
One of the reasons why we have this investors forum is also to bring in like minds, people who have gone through the process of what we are going through. They've gone through the uphill task of reforming their nation. Colombia, when President Gaviria took over, was in the doldrums. I mean, everything was comatose. They had the biggest drug problem, image problem, what have you. And this man was able to rescue this country against unsurmountable odds of what people thought. So we felt these are the kind of people we need to bring in to educate us, let us know how they attacked the problems and how they found solutions. So that's why this investors forum, it's not just for us to say, oh, investors come and invest, but also let our investors know that we are looking to harness the future. Yes, we are moving, we are attracting the industry, but we want to keep them. We don't want just to attract the industries. We want to house them, we want to feed them, we want them to be gainfully employed and live and thrive in Ogun State. So these kind of big figures who have gone through it will educate us, inform us, and help us to maintain that stride.
One of the challenges that industries would have is the issue of power. What's Ogun State doing to
what?
Power supply. I mean, we've had industries relocate, and then we have issues of policy somersault. But let's look at the question of power. What's Ogun State doing about that?
Unfortunately, it's a national problem. Ogun State is not isolated, and we'll be fooling ourselves if we say, yes, we have it under control. We are hoping, we are praying that with this current reforms from the national, the Ministry of Information in Abuja, we are hoping with all the promises made that we can keep our industries. So far, we've been able to keep them happy, giving them an environment that's conducive to their operations. So we've not really had any major moves. We're hoping that the situation will get better and we can continue to keep them happy.
Then give us an idea of how the program is going to go today.
We have like I said, we have the former president of Colombia, President Gaviria, who's going to be our keynote speaker. We have about 5 ministers who are also going to be featuring key ministries talking to us about on various themes. We have the Minister for Environment, she's going to be here. Minister for Housing, Power, Works is also going to be speaking with us. So we have each sector from the top. They're going to tell us how they're going to help us harness our potentials, how we can tap into the national grid and get some of these bargains from this national budget that's just been approved.
In terms of, because you're always consistently happy people come to you, you say, well, I heard Ogun State has done this, they've done this, but are you guys sure is this going to be sustainable in the long run, especially when maybe looking far ahead after this 4 years? How do you relate and deal with this kind of inquiry?
Well, we are a nation of skeptics, and you can't blame the public. They've had promises. We've had, when democracy comes, it will get better. Democracy came, it didn't get better. Yeah, when change comes, it will get better. Change has come, but we're still waiting for it to get better. We can't fold our hands, like our amiable governor will say. We can't surrender. Where there's hope, there's life. When there's life, there's hope. So we must continue to forge ahead, continue to take those strides. My job is to continue to sell our programs, continue to tell our people, look, this is what we've done. Here's where we're coming from. Here's where we are at, and here's what we're looking for in the future, and carry them along. Once people are educated and informed, they're easier to govern. So Ogun has been able to sustain that, and we hope that we can continue along that line.
And then the other thing about that is we've always looked forward to the private sector being at the center of many of these. And how has that integration happened to ensure that the private sector really is in the forefront and government just gives the leadership?
Well, we don't fool ourselves. We understand from day one. We understood from day one that government cannot do everything for you. Ours is to provide an enabling platform, an enabling environment. By that, provide the infrastructure, provide the housing, provide what have you for these private sector companies to thrive. We don't have the funds, and that's always been the mistake from onset. Government trying to do everything, supply power, provide transportation. You find yourself buying 100 buses, and after a year, without maintenance, but if a private participant, they will make sure, because that's their line of business and they operate to make a profit. Most of the time in governance, we operate government for government's sake. But a private sector participant will make sure that, wait a minute, my business must continue to thrive, I must continue to make a profit. So we understand that in Ogun State, we're not trying to provide everything, but provide an enabling platform for these private sector participants to come in and thrive. And that's the essence of this Investors Forum.
All right, Dayo Adeneye, Commissioner for Information in Ogun State, thank you for coming on and all the best.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to see you, gentlemen.
All right, and we'll be back in a minute to have a long stretch of guests who will be on today, so don't go away yet.